Good morning, world. Maria here, alive and kicking. Welcome to Awaken with Maria and Monica, or as Monica prefers it, the M&M show.
With nuts.
So I have with me Monica Sepulveda. If you're not familiar with her or her work, check out Monica with two N's, Monnica.com. If you're listening at Gary Null's network, enjoy the show. Consider subscribing to the show because we have plenty of shows on site. Right now, probably over 700 hours of education. Good morning, Monica. How are you?
Good morning. And Monica used to be Monica, the website, but that led to a porn site.
Oh,
And I have to tell people, no, wait, two N's. I'm the one that gives good mind.
right. Right. Listen, we live in interesting times where everybody's mind is going down some pretty weird spaces. That's for sure. I
Oh, definitely.
I thought
But
that
it's, go ahead.
I last month I forgot to include this question from one of my listeners, Janet, and I think it kind of leads into what we want to talk about today. So I thought we'd
Hmm.
kick off with that. Janet was born June 1st, 1949. Uh,
Okay.
and she said that she doesn't understand that she's very psychic and very intuitive, but she doesn't have that meter for BS. And she doesn't understand how that coexists within her to be psychic and still not be able to see, the BS.
Okay, so is she talking about BS from people that she counsels, or I don't understand the
Just,
question. It doesn't make
just,
sense to me.
just BS in general.
Oh, so she doesn't know how to discern.
Right.
Okay, so what's happening here is that there is, I see that she goes back from the left brain to the right brain to the left brain to the right brain. She needs to, in the morning, which is something I always do, I connect to my source, my higher power called love. Some people call it God, doesn't matter, doesn't care. And what I do is I connect there, and I connect to a lot of different dimensions because I connect up to the eighth dimension, which are extraterrestrials from Andromeda, and I always ask for them to give me guidance for myself to be able to know the difference between what is right, what is wrong. Here's the thing that they told me. They said when it doesn't feel good, that means it's wrong. When it feels good, that means it's right. So you always have to go with your gut, your heart. The right brain is activated then, which is intuitive. And the key is, and a lot of people make decisions based on pros and cons, which is the worst way to make decisions. Just go with your heart. If it feels right, you follow through. That's the best way to discern. If you have any question whatsoever, then the answer is no. If you have to question something or think about it, the answer is no. Even our friend David Icke, says at the end of his books, whatever I write here and it doesn't resonate with you, then don't accept it because it may
Exactly.
not be right for you. So
Exactly.
that's how you get past the bullshit.
Right. Well, the other thing is learning to trust your intuition. And I think that a lot of people don't trust it. Like for myself, back in the day, I would be like, "Am I imagining this, or is this what's real?" And
Yeah,
once
yeah.
you learn to trust it and just go with it, just take the
Oh my
chance and
gosh,
go with it.
it changes your life because as I studied back in like 1969, 1970, 71 with my teacher, that was the one thing she said to me at the very beginning. She says the hardest part about this is trusting that it's true. But she also said your intuition, your heart, it doesn't know how to lie to you. It only tells you the truth. But then people follow up with, well, what if it's wrong? What if I fail? They get this brilliant idea, and then they start doing the what if. The
Right.
what if then plugs right into the left brain, and then the left brain comes up with all this information based on old emotions in our past, which doesn't allow us to get a clear picture because then we get confused. This
Right.
is why a lot of men, when they go to bed, they say, well, I'll make a decision in the morning when I'm clear-headed. Why? Because the left brain has been analyzing all day long, and when you get up, you get the true feeling of what to do, and they say, okay, I'm taking it. It feels right. They finally switch over to that right brain.
Right.
So the key here is when you get a message to do something, like when I got the message to write a book, I was like, I could easily gone into who's going to publish it, will it be successful? I didn't do that. I just started writing because I
Right.
trusted it, and I know it doesn't lie. It's incapable of lying. Your feelings do not lie to you. Your emotions will, but I'm talking about gut feelings, not emotions. Those are different.
Right. Well,
So,
the other. Go ahead.
go ahead.
The Here we have two people that have some form of dyslexia trying to have a conversation with each other.
Well, we're both fire signs.
Well, I wanted to get back to Janet because I know her. And
Yeah.
Janet represents to me a lot of people I know. And I think that sometimes the reason they can't differentiate the bullshit, and this might sound crazy to you, Monica, is they're just too nice. They want to believe. Okay. I mean, I have a lot, I have another close friend. He's just too nice, and I tell him that. You're too nice. You always think the best of everything and expect the best of everything. And that niceness blinds you to the truth. And sometimes that's what makes you, even though you're feeling something's up, your mind is saying, nah, that can't really be the case, and it's...
Well, then he's betraying himself,
But people
do that
don't...
all the time.
Yeah, but...
I changed the word nice to kindness. I don't like the word nice. I'd rather be kind to others. So when I get the vibe of there's something not jiving here, boy, I pay attention to it immediately because my inner self knows.
Right.
But the hardest part is to know, to get used to going with feeling.
Right.
And going with instinct. Once you start doing that, listen, it's easy breezy.
Look, I live my life by my intuition. I'll tell you a funny little bit. One of my good friends, and she's been listening and a supporter to the show for years, okay? She was at the beginning of this nomination process for Kavanaugh. She was listening, and look, he was telling a good tale, okay? But I immediately, of course, on my show said, this guy's no good, and that's the way it goes. I didn't have all the facts yet, but my intuition already had told me this is not going to happen. This guy's no good, all right? And it's very funny because she kept following along and saying, but he said this and he said that. He seems like he's, a good guy to get confirmed. She says, and I said, I'm just telling you, I always go by my intuition. She says, what am I going to tell my friends? I don't like him because Maria says so. So of course, as more and more news came out, it was proven to be true.
Exactly.
So we had a good laugh over it. But for me, years ago, I was told by a guy putting together a radio station that, you're the only person that's doing news with spiritual views. And I trust my gut. I trusted my gut from the beginning on this administration. And so everything, and I've been 100% correct. So it takes a long time.
Let me tell you something. What you're saying, Maria, is accurate. My mother taught me when I was 12 years old, who you are, speak so loudly, I can't hear what you're saying. So people stop listening to the words and go with your gut about things. Even people that are famous authors, I'm not even going to name, that put out their good work. And I thought, but that person's a despicable human being. But this is what I learned to do, Maria. I immediately started saying, I want this feeling that I'm having validated. I want something to come forth to expose their person, who they are. I don't care what they write about. The message might be good, but the message might be full of shit,
Right.
So what I do is I say, give me some evidence. And sure enough, all of a sudden, I remember Jay-Z Knight back in the early 80s, who used to do this Ramtha, the enlightened one, and I thought, she's full of shit.
I knew
and
that
sure enough,
instantly.
I ended up meeting people who knew her, and they said the same thing.
I agree.
She's full of shit.
I agree. I felt the same way. And actually, I think my kids saw her once on TV, and she terrorized the hell out of them because of all her sound effects and whatnot. But her boyfriend certainly squealed on her big, like the Long Island Psychic. Same thing. There's tons of videos by her ex exposing her.
So now that we're naming names, I'll tell you the other one who's a fraud, Marion Williamson.
Well, I don't know.
The other one that was a fraud, who I knew personally very well, was Sylvia Brown.
Well, Sylvia Brown was dark. She was very dark. Anyway, let's get back to...
I met her when she was 34. I was like 19. I used to go to her house all the time, but she was dark.
Oh, she's very dark. I look, those are stories we could tell off air. But let's get back to today. What I'm finding is a lot of people are now starting to question or realize whether they're having a spiritual experience or if they're losing their minds. Okay.
This is why I think we're teaching them with what we're saying how to differentiate the difference. Go with your feeling, not with your emotions. Don't overthink it. Do not analyze. Whatever your intuition tells you, pay attention now. The key is, how do you get from the left brain to the right brain? Because the right brain is clearly where intuition is, right?
Right.
So people don't know how to do that. Here's the 3 steps. Number 1, intuition always gives you instruction in the present tense and direction of what you should be doing. It also gives you the feeling about people and things. As soon as you receive that information, run with it. Even if it's an idea that you don't think you can do, if your brain told you, that means you have a capacity to do it. Most people go from getting the information to analyzing it,
Right.
and then when they analyze it, they're in the left brain, and then all their emotions come up from the past because maybe they failed when they try to write a book, so they're thinking, well, I don't want this to happen again, so I'm not going to do it. This is why it's been proven that ideas, we are all receivers, and ideas come to people at the same time, like the Wright brothers. They weren't the first ones that invented an airplane. It was these 2 Frenchmen.
Right.
But nobody knows their name because these guys had the courage to go for it and get out there and do it.
Right.
So the key is take action immediately. Do not question. Don't let yourself go into that danger zone. I call it the white noise. I call it the troublemaker, and that's your left brain. Yet it has a place because we need to know that 1 and 1 equals 2. So it holds history, but it doesn't give you direction in the now.
Exactly.
So,
well, I also recommend and have for years the book Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain.
Yeah.
If people find themselves too stuck in the left side of their brain, that's a great book to kind of help. There's a lot of ways of flipping the switch,
Easy.
but people have to step out of that negativity too and that fear.
Okay, so here's step 1, because I like to teach just like you. Step 1 is that you know that the right brain controls the left side of the body. So start doing more things with the left side of your body. Pick up things with your left hand. When you're standing in queue waiting to get your groceries checked out, shift all your body weight to the left side. That triggers the right brain.
Uh-huh. Well,
and so when if you're starting to do that more, then you're going to start using both hemispheres, not just one. You can also tell that, people that even cross your legs, put the left one over the right one. Cross your arms, and see how, and put the left one. If it feels uncomfortable, that means that your left brain is actually controlling. I always tell people, make a clasp your hands. Which thumb is on top, the left or the right? If the left one is on top, then the right brain is dominating. If the right one is on top, the left brain is dominating. Then fold your arms in front of your chest. Which arm is on top? And you can see the same thing. But if you try to reverse it, it feels super uncomfortable. So this lets you know whether you're more right brain or left brain, just with those 2 exercises alone.
Right. Well, I happen to be left-handed, so I have to challenge myself in different ways.
I'm left-handed, but I'm ambidextrous because the only thing I do with my left hand is right. Everything else I use my right hand, and they used to try to give me lefty scissors growing up, and I couldn't cut with my left hand. Still can't.
I remember, and listen, it's a hard world to grow up in if you're left-handed. I just had that conversation with somebody this week. But what did they say? Left-handed people are only people in their right mind.
Yeah, that's true. But you can also stimulate the right brain by shifting weight to the left side or doing things with your left hand. That will actually activate the right brain. So it's not that hard. There's always little teeny steps and little tools you can learn, to answer the questions you have. They're all over YouTube. Shoot, I've got my own YouTube page and I have lessons there.
Right. Well, what I'm finding is a lot of young people, and when I say young, I'm talking about maybe 18 to 25, are being accused by their parents, some of them being accused by their parents of being crazy. But maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But the few that I get to talk to and listen to their experiences, it's clear to me that they're not crazy, that they're actually having major spiritual visions and awakenings.
Yeah. I sent you a quotation yesterday, and that quotation is about, being different. But I live in a world where people accept me because, it's like, what happens is if you're around a lot of people that start criticizing you, it's because their soul is younger and yours is older. So you've already had a lot of life experiences and you've learned with wisdom. And this is why, you seem to be out of the norm. But yet at the same time, eventually you start creating people that come into our world that are just like us. So I mean, I pay very much attention to what I talk about when I'm around new people. I don't bring up the subject at all. I talk about the fucking weather or something, something that's like, or the one thing that they're always doing is that they're always on their damn cell phones, which I put mine in my purse and I don't take it out because that thing is addictive. And that's the worst thing in the world. It keeps you too much into the wrong things. It's a total distraction.
Well, it's also mind programming, it's control, it's
Yeah,
surveillance. The list goes on and on. And when I saw
it
now,
does.
when I saw now that the president's going to be able to talk to everybody's cell phones at the same time for any national emergency, I said, "Wow, another good reason not to have a cell phone." So the good reasons for
Yeah.
not having a phone continue to add up for me. So let's get back to
Well, the
these.
thing,
Let's get back to these kids for a minute because it's important.
yeah, sure.
And some of my listeners who are not kids are also writing me about experiences they're having and wondering whether is it because I'm overtired, is it because this is happening, or am I losing it? But these people are actually having tremendous spiritual awakenings.
Yeah.
And sometimes what people need to do is just stop and think. When you're busy during the day and you're running around, you're going to your job, you're doing your chores, whatever has to happen, that's the worst time that spirit is ever going to try to get your attention because you're so busy. And I
Exactly.
think that when you're tired or you get sick, you're in bed for a couple of days, or especially when you're sleeping, your energy is finally slowed down enough for, we could call it the spirit world, whatever you want to call it, to reach you.
Yeah.
And people need to not be afraid of that unless you're hearing voices that tell you to kill yourself or kill somebody else.
Yeah,
Uh,
well, that's schizophrenia, so it's different. But remember one thing, my mother's so wise. I mean, she only went to the 8th grade, but that woman is wise, and she's the one that said, "Who you are speaks so loudly, I can't hear what you're saying." That's how you can differentiate whether someone's got BS or not. But I start the day making sure that I am connected so that I set the tone for the day. You have to set for the tone for the day. I was in a Learjet once with this man who said, if you don't set the tone for the day, you're open to anything happening to you, not for you. And he says, like if you get a flat tire and if you're dialed in and you're pacing yourself and you have that connection, he said you'll get the flat tire in front of a gas station instead of in the middle of a freeway. So it's smart to do that.
right.
And so when I started doing things like this at a very young age, of course, I'm 67 now, but I started working professionally doing readings by the time I was 21 because I got my ordained. I was ordained a minister after 3 years of studying with the Universal Church of the Master, which is a metaphysical church, basically. And so I learned that if you don't set the tone of the day, it's like calling Sears and saying, "Here's my credit card number, send me anything."
Right.
You know what I mean? It's irresponsible.
Exactly.
So we have a responsibility.
Well, it reminds me of a meme I see every now and then when I'm not banned from social media. And it says, you either run the day or the day runs you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so that's why you start the tone and you decide, because then otherwise the brain runs amok and has control. No, we got to get back in the driver's seat, take back our personal power and decide what we want it to look like. So, I do that. This is what I want my life to look like. And I actually, back in 1987, I gave I learned this technique, which was really great. Give your life a rating from 1 to 10. And I gave mine a 4. I wasn't happy at all. But I wrote down if my life was a 10, this is what it would look like.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like amazing. I just decided that I would be a child, and if I could have anything in the world, this is what my life was a 10 was going to look like. And I wrote it down, and it took me like a half an hour to write this stuff down. And then what I did is after I looked at it, the questions came to my mind. Are you willing to do whatever it takes to go from a 4 to a 10? And I said, absolutely. And the second question, what must I do? The answers were all in the fact that I had to change on the inside. I was running around with fear, worry, doubt. Those were the big 3. So that means that the changes weren't going to take place on the outside until I changed it on the inside. I was willing to do that. And by 1 year's time, everything I wrote on that piece of paper came to fruition, all of it. But sometimes
great.
people don't know what they want or they don't think they deserve it. So that has to do with self-acceptance, self-love,
Right.
and
Right.
deservability and stuff. But the fear is the worst because it's an absence of love. And if love is the only reality, everything else is an illusion. So fear is an illusion too, false evidence appearing real. Worry is the opposite of faith. Faith in what? Faith in oneself and faith in something greater than yourself that can sustain you, you know? So my feeling is that setting the tone for the day is the most important thing we can do. And hey, if you stay there and say, I don't have time for that, well, you know what? Then it's your own damn fault. Why don't you
Right.
multitask and do it in the shower?
Exactly.
You know?
It should be the first. Well, for me, it's the first thing I do in the morning while I'm doing my stretches, just to wake up the body computer. but
Yeah.
and it does. You know, it's interesting because I had a client yesterday, and she's going through divorce. She's got all kinds of issues and problems, and she's a nervous wreck. And when she was leaving, she said, you know, your life just runs so smoothly. And I looked at her and I said, yeah, but it took me 60 years to get here.
Yes.
You know, everybody
Yes.
thinks that, I fell out of my mother's womb this way. No, I went through all the same crap everybody else is going through. So I
Oh
learned
my
from it.
gosh.
Right.
Oh my gosh. You are hitting a nerve here, definitely. I mean, people always say, oh, you're so lucky. I said, no. I said, if you traded places with me and went through what I had to go through growing up
Right.
from the time I was 3 years old, I said, you would never take my life. I had to
Exactly.
evolve. And that's the whole key about, I love this book called Messages from Michael because it really, by Chelsea Quinn Yarborough, because it really talks about how we evolve, the theme we come here with, our age of our soul. You can identify yourself by reading that book. It is probably one of my favorites. I have like a top 10, but that's one of my favorites. It's Messages from Michael. Great book. I know that you would be able to, because people read this book and they'll say, okay, help me, identify myself. And I'm like, okay, that's easy. We'll turn this into a session, but that's a really good book. But you're absolutely right. You got to start the tone for the day, and however you choose to do it. I stretch out like a cat, because I have two cats. I stretch out my body like a cat, and that helps me wake up. And then a cup of coffee, of course.
Of course. Gotta have that coffee. Well, before my coffee, I always one thing that'll wake you up is some apple cider vinegar in a glass of water. There's your wake up call
Yeah.
for the morning. I start with that because I want to keep my
Yeah.
body acidic.
Yeah.
Alkaline.
Oh, I have to keep mine alkaline.
Right,
So I
alkaline
take
is
soda
what I meant.
bicarbonate.
And, and then my water purifier makes the water alkaline. Because I truly
Yeah.
believe that disease can't grow in a properly fed and watered body.
Yeah.
Even going to get something, I had this splotch on my head for so long, and I finally went to the skin doctor. And he looked at it, he says, yeah, that has to go. And then it takes like 10 days for them to tell you whether it's cancerous or not. I didn't even give it a
Yeah.
second thought. And my son was like, Mom, what was the result? And I said, Jordan, cancer can't grow in a healthy body. And sure
That's
enough,
right.
I got the notification that it was benign. But if I would have been
Yeah.
sweating it and putting out to the universe for those 10 days that I have cancer, what you
Yeah.
think is what you bring to yourself.
Always.
And one thing that I'm really enjoying is a lot of more people are now telling me that they're starting to do what I always suggest people do: talk to their body talk.
Always.
And
Always. I
you
totally
get
agree,
you
Meria.
get the best results by talking to your body. Talk to your body. There's a little universe you do control. Okay.
Yeah.
Talk to your body every day about what you expect.
Yeah.
Thank it for a healthy, pain-free day. Okay.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say thank it. I actually got a message from an extraterrestrial named Sharon, who's from Andromeda, who said, reset your body and your entire being to the default settings. And I said, what? Reset it to the default settings. I said, you mean like a computer? And he said, yes. When your computer jams and it's frozen, you reset it to the default settings and it's like brand new again. He said, you could do that with your entire being. And I went, ooh, I like that. So I started doing that, got rid of asthma, kept doing it, got rid of diabetes. Now I'm doing it for my skeletal, as you know.
Right.
Personally,
Right.
And so you've directed me towards stem cell, which is what I decided to do that.
Good. And, just for the listening audience, or if whatever it is you're feeling goes wrong with your body computer, always, for me, this is what I have experienced. I never tell people to do anything I haven't done myself or tested or proven. Find a
Yes.
naturopathic physician. They have so many different infusions now, stem cell treatments. shots that'll give you the same relief as cortisone without side effects. You need to take medicine into your own hands. Because if you wait for a doctor to guess what's going on with you, you got a long wait and an expensive wait.
And we know that the body is the last thing to be impacted by our state of mind and whatever we're feeling and believing. So the cure is in the cause. If you have an ulcer, guess what? You worry too much. So get rid of the worry and the ulcer goes away.
Right. Well, you just reminded me, back in the day, a person I used to respect, but once I worked with her in person, I no longer respected her, Louise Hay. She had that book, her first book, which I thought was the best book she ever wrote.
Yeah, Heal Your Body?
Heal Your Life, I think, or Heal Your Body, where she literally gave you, right, it was like every disease imaginable and what part of your body it affected, and mantras, basically, to correct it.
Yeah.
And that book was fabulous. It was one of the most valuable books that ever came out.
Yeah, I have it. Mm-hmm.
Right. And people, have to make that body, mind, and spirit connection because it's there. So I don't want people to ignore what they get. A lot of people, myself included, interestingly enough, I wanted to ask you if you're experiencing this, Monica. There are certain people that have been on the other side in my family for a long time, and I haven't heard from them in years, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, I'm seeing 2 or 3 of them a week in my dream space, or they make it very evident they're around me.
Oh, good.
And a lot of other people are having these same experiences. Now, I am personally feeling that the veil between dimensions is very thin right now.
Exactly.
I mean, are you feeling that too?
Absolutely, without a doubt. And it's like, now that I moved to this new house here, it's like I kind of missed all those, visitations I had because they crack me up. They do things in this, my other house that used to crack me up, like throw things across the room. I used to sit there and clap and I go, do it again, just don't break anything, and just to get my attention. But I finally felt someone the other day in my bedroom, and I went, he was quite, what they do? They appear like a hologram. So they don't really smile or have an expression, but they telepathically communicate with you. And when you get more into that right brain, you're going to raise your vibratorial frequency as soon as we get rid of density, which is called emotions, the past, old emotions, things like that. We have to get past those because the thing that we need to do is stop being a victim and saying, look what happened to me. Right. Instead, we need to say, look what happened for me. And the people that are always too busy, you were talking about this a few minutes ago, that sometimes people are so busy during the day, and so they're in their left brain. But you know what? You're not a human doing, you're a human being. So write those words down. I'm not a human doing, I'm a human being. But this particular being that came into my room, I was like, holy crap. I said, you're Nikola Tesla. Huh. And I thought, you're going to teach me a lot because Nikola Tesla got all his inventions from extraterrestrials, and he said that anybody can connect with that dimension, and you can. That's where you get all your information, your knowledge. We don't invent anything. We receive ideas about what to do to invent, and then you can see it through images. He used to see pictures. Then he would draw it. Da Vinci did the same thing.
Right.
And what they do is that's how they're able to get this planet to move forward. So if we all do our part and continue to do that and stay in a place of love, this world transforms by itself. There's too many people that are afraid right now because of the stuff that's happening. The only thing that's really bothering me is those kids that are now caged, 12,000 more.
Right.
I think that infuriates me more than anything else because of the cruelty and inhumaneness and the abuse. And now they're injecting them with hallucinogens. And I'm thinking, this MFer, the orange face, turns around and takes money from FEMA to give it to ICE to create new cages for these new 12,000 children that are being detained and separated from their families. So that is my one spot that can really get me going. But I thought, no, start praying. Just start praying. His karma will come around. So right. I don't like to be political, but I'll tell you one thing right now. Do something with your life where you are praying for something greater. And stay in a place of peace and harmony and joy so that your own space is not contributing to their agenda. Their agenda feeds off of our fear and worries and doubts. Do not go there because then you're part of the problem instead of a solution.
Absolutely. And, I cover, of course, I've been covering that story plus everything else. So one thing that I've started to include in my nightly distant Reiki is I send it out for true justice. I don't even put anything
Yeah.
on it, just true justice. And listen, sometimes justice is ugly. Okay, that's the
Yes.
way it goes. I think that America right now is paying for a myriad of sins in its past.
Oh, no, exactly. That's exactly what I've been telling people. I said we're balancing the karmic wheel from the things that have happened in this country for centuries. I said, and it woke people up to do something.
Exactly.
I mean,
So
look at all the
you got to go through
look at all
hell
the
to
new
get.
people running.
Exactly. Like I always say, you got to go through hell to get to heaven. Monica, we need to take a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back.